When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
I do make everything about me.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
My passport is in the pocket of the duffel bag I took to Mexico.
At Mattress Firm, we know the right mattress matters. We also know that price does too. So if you see a lower price somewhere else, we'll match it. Plus, you get free and fast delivery. Shop in-store or online at mattressfirm.com. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Welcome guys, this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host Tony Evans. This one's an episode which I thought I would have done by now and I haven't, which is always, surprising to me and to many. I'm going to talk about one of the sacred cows of heavy metal and heavy rock. A person, I won't do the band he's from because I'm sure the band has been covered ad nauseum in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the man himself, and that's Lemmy Kilminster. Good old Lemmy Kilminster. Sadly leaving us on the 28th of December 2015. One of a polarizing, or should I say non-polarizing, member of the music community. I don't think there's anyone who likes heavy metal or heavy rock or rock in general that doesn't like Lemmy. I'd be surprised if there is anyone out there that would turn off a Motorhead song or anything with Lemmy in it, to be brutally honest. I first came across Lemmy, would you believe this? Yes, my brother had Bomber, and he played it a fair bit, but actually where I first come across Lemmy was in a movie called Hardware. Now, that came out in was it late 80s, early 90s? It sounds like a lot I should have listened to him before, and I did, but it was a strange science fiction movie, right? That I'm trying to find it right now. Hardware, where is it? Here we go. 1990, actually. He played the water taxi driver character in it, and playing the Ace of Spades for his passenger in the boat. Now, I mean, by 1990 I was 17, I think. And yeah, sort of Motorhead was something that I'd seen on the Young Ones, and then of course, in and out and bits and pieces. But was sort of when I saw him in Hardware, which is a crazy, UK British science fiction movie directed by Richard Stanley. It's got Iggy Pop in it. It's got John Lynch. It's really quite. If you get a chance to watch it, you should. It's a crazy movie. Anyway, that's where I first saw. That's where I first saw Lemmy, and then I thought to myself, well, okay, now. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fan, but I was sort of feeling my way through the musical genres that I listen to, as you all know by now. He was originally in many of the bands. He was in a 60s band called the Filthy Vickers, I think was the name of the. Just to make sure I get that right. Just look at my notes. Of course, my notes are all the way at the bottom. Bear with me. Sorry, I made note. I'm doing a different way now. I made notes on my laptop instead of my notebook for the moment, and so I'm sort of getting my head around this new technique. So if I wander off, because I'm just trying to work out technology, right? Okay, just trying to work out technology. I'll go back to my actual written notes I made earlier. So he was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix and the Nice. That's an amazing thing. I didn't know about that, actually. He was born just at the end of the war. Okay, his father was a Air Force vicar and concert pianist, and his mum and dad split up him at an early age, and he moved to Newcastle under Lyme, and then on to Anglesey in Wales, and to quite a few other places. And he just say in his biography that being the only English speaker in 700 Welsh kids on the island of Anglesey, which is middle of nowhere if anyone knows a British UK map, it would have been a tough thing for him, right? Made him a strong person. But he was born in Stoke-on-Trent, actually. He loves the Beatles. He loved John Lennon because of the sarcasm that John brought to the music. He thought they were hard. He saw the Beatles at the Cavern, and he thought they were hard nuts because they truly were street boys until they changed their image after when they sort of moved into from their sort of like nice image to their more rock and roll image. He thought they were very, very, for him, he always thought the Stones were a bit good musically but really naff live because they were just posh schoolboys. That's such a Lemmy thing, to say, really, I would say. Yeah, so he was I'm trying to find the band he was with. I can't find it. I did make a note of it, isn't that silly? And he got it. I'll find it later on. He got his nickname, apparently, according to sources, is because he'd say, "Lend me a quid till Friday," or "Lend me a quid till Friday," which is derivation of "Lend me a quid till Friday," because he had a slot machine addiction. One-armed bandits. That's not an unusual thing for Lemmy. I can imagine because he's, we all know Lemmy's drug addictions and sex addictions and so on, alcohol. So he obviously had an addictive personality. And also born on Christmas Eve. I mean, that's always going to be a tough one growing up as a kid, isn't it? But anyway, he's in and out of bands in the 60s, playing sort of pop, rock and roll. Decided that rock was for him because it brought the girls into his orbit, and we know what he was like around the women. And he started playing along to Beatles covers, like "Please Please Me" was the first thing he learnt to play. And then, in and around the 60s in the drug scene, he sort of wafted into, I'm the longest remaining member of the space rock outfit Hawkwind. Now, I never really got into Hawkwind. I'm actually on the back of researching Lemmy's sort of life and looking at the stuff in his past. I started listening to a bit of Hawkwind, and actually, it's not as bad as I originally thought it was going to be. I'm not a space rocky, druggy music kind of guy. I'm just not, even though I like a fair bit of prog. A lot of prog's not all kind of, flowers in your hair and revolution. It's something different. So I thought, well, give it a go. It actually is quite heavy and rocky, and has some real interesting passages of music on their albums. Yeah, some of it's a bit, a bit not up my street, but it sort of, it does its thing, right? It does its thing. Now, he was in Hawkwind for 4 years. 4 years he was in Hawkwind until he, no surprises, he got kicked out because of his drug habit, right? That's it's saying something when you're in a space rock outfit and you're the one with the drug habit. It's quite amusing, I think, anyway. And in that, while he was in the band, he recorded Motorhead, which is took the name for his following band that he formed in 1975 after his rather interesting sacking from the band. I won't tell you the full story of that one. That's one you should go and research. It's actually really interesting. At least I can say is that the band pissed off and left him somewhere. That's what I read anyway. And whether it's true or not, it is another thing. But that's Hawkwind's loss and the world of heavy rock's gain, is it not? And then he goes on and forms a 3-piece band. Now, the original members of Hawkwind, blah, 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 of Motorhead were Lemmy himself, Ian Fraser Kilminster, Larry Wallace on guitar, and Lucas Fox on drums. Of course, this changed, as we know, to the lineup that we love and know now, with Phil Filthy Animal Taylor on drums and Fast Eddie Clarke on guitar, and of course Lemmy on bass. Now, the thing about Lemmy's bass playing that makes it so unique, of anyone out there who don't, if you listen to this and you're learning about the music genre, and you've just dipped in for this show, go and watch some videos of Lemmy. So as a bass player myself, and when you're learning to play bass, you learn to be on the root note, usually one octave below, rumbling behind, unless you're really creative. And there are a lot of creatives out there, of course, your Steve Harris's, your Giddy Lees, your Chris Squires of the world, but not, most of us just sit below, sort of sitting around driving that bass line behind. Was Lemmy played the bass like a rhythm guitar, so he picked at it, not fingered, and he attacked it and played and chorded it, because he's a big dude, so he could hold that Rickenbacker, which was his favourite guitar, and he chorded it. He did, and he basically played as a second rhythm. And he sang with a microphone at an angle, face up, and neck, throat open, and that's how he's got that very distinctive sound. If anyone knows rock and roll, they'll know Lemmy's voice. And a few singers are sort of do similar. Tony Doolan from Venom Inc. And from Venom and from Atomcraft and many other bands sings in a very similar way, because he's a big Lemmy fan, and it sort of opens up, throat up, has that sort of a sort of staring at the sky attack kind of thing. Now, Lemmy had this love of war memorabilia. He liked, I think it was all to do because, I mean, he's a war child, born at the end of the war. He would have been raised at a time when the streets were still peppered with, bomb shirt holes, and buildings were still destroyed. There was still rationing. His mum and dad would have fought in the Second World War. His grandfather's more than likely in the First. And so, it was all around him. So he very much driven in his lyrics and his imagery around that way. And then he draws himself into this three-piece band. And without a shadow of a doubt, I think, because he formed in 75 and Nawabum is around about your sort of 77 to 80, around that time, maybe even 78 to 80, I would with a hand on my heart, say that absolutely Motorhead are one of the founding, if not the founding, sounds of the British heavy metal movement that revitalised heavy metal worldwide in general. So that he and his band are extremely important, so important, so that I think they're in a completely different category to themselves, because he loved punk, and he took the brash angriness and DIY-ness of punk, so he didn't have to be all clean and proper, and have the all beautiful tones in his guitars. They could just bash the crap out of it. And Phil Taylor on drums he was an animal, man, like Animal from the Muppets. He was just God rest his soul. He's also gone, and so is Eddie Clarke. All three of them are gone. And he was just he was like it was like the Ramones. I mean, they did that song Ramones, didn't they? They did the cover, R-O-M-E-N-S. They did that, but they like the Ramones, but with more balls. I mean, and I'm just not having a go at the Ramones, but it's exactly what the Motorhead were. It's like when people say I don't like punk, but they listen to Motorhead. It's sort of contradictory to me, because it is basically punk, but with heavy metal balls. It basically does, it is. They released, an epic catalogue, 23 studio albums, 10 live recordings, 12 compilation albums, and 5 EPs spanning 40 years. They had UK top 40 chart albums with Overkill, Bomber, Ace of Spades, and particularly the live album No Sleep Till Hammersmith, which really, that took them there, didn't it? Because when you played Hammersmith back then in the 80s, you'd made it. If you were playing headlining at Hammersmith, you had made it in the world of rock and roll in the UK, and probably even the world, actually, to be honest. There were, the Marquee in Hammersmith, I've said it before, and, it was voted number 26 on the VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of Rock, Hard Rock They Are, the band was. I think that's a little bit shameful. It should be higher than that. They sold 15 million albums worldwide. 15 million albums. It's unbelievable, isn't it, when you think about it? Influenced thrash metal, speed metal, However, Lemmy always insisted that they were a rock and roll band. And they just covered topics like good versus evil, abuse of power, promiscuous sex, substance abuse, gambling. Of course, gambling, particularly gambling with Lemmy's background, with Ace of Spades being a classic example of it. And I'm really glad to see that when Lemmy died in 2015, on December 28th, 4 days after his birthday, that they disbanded the band. And I'm really glad that did, because there are bands out there, and I'm looking at you, In Excess, I'm looking at you, Thin Lizzy. At what point do you think enough is enough? I get that you might think that it's they might think it's one second, I've just got my bloody phone just buzzed. One moment. Oh no, it's my laptop. See, it's this new system I'm using. One second. Sorry about the distraction there. It's this new system, and my brain, I'm trying to flick between screens, and the brain went boo boo. Anyway, so there, you've played Marquee. You're really, a big band, and they've sort of created this image, this dirty, filthy rock and roll image that it appeals to me in such a way, the same way that sort of maybe back in the 70s bands like not Free, who am I thinking of, Get Your Motor Running, Get On the Highway, oh my lord, absolutely gone blank. One moment, see, this is live research as we speak, right? It will come to me in a second, right? Hang on. You're all screaming at me, you know what the band is. Hang on. Hang on, here we go. Born to be Wild is the name of the song. Steppenwolf, I knew that. See, but anyway, my brain went elsewhere. So that, the same way that kind of filthy road music, rock and roll, bikey kind of sound thing, that in a lot of ways is why bands like the Anti-Nowhere League appeal to me. A sort of street urchinness of it, and so they made a vast history of albums. Okay, so different eras, different types of sounds. Did they change much? No. I think if you listen to the very first album, slightly rawer, and slightly more DIY, because they were with Bronze Records for most of their career, and then had to leave due to label issues when they recorded Orgasmatron in 1886, I think 89. Let's just check that one. So they left, and then they formed their own record label, and the sound sort of then becomes a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit thinner. No, thinner's not the wrong word. That is the wrong term. It sounds a little bit more commercial, but then has to be when it's your own money ploughing into it. So you need to sell more records, I suppose, and you want to keep that sound, and you do need to, diversify yourself as well, of course. And Orgasmatron is actually one of my favourite albums of the band, and I will be covering that in the second part of the show. But what more can I say about Lemmy, really, that apart from that he is sort of the soul, and he is the how do I say this? He is the He is the Sid Vicious of the heavy metal movement. Of the genre. He really is. He burned bright. He burned hard, and he burned fast. Yes, he was older than Sid when he died, but at the same time, they keep the same power, the same oomph behind them that the rest that no one else can. You know, there's very few people in music that will elicit the kind of responses that, say, Sid or Lemmy did. And, you know, both of them sadly not with us anymore. But Lemmy, he had that look that, you know, you wouldn't mind going to sit at the end of the bar with him and have a whiskey, and he'd tell you some fantastic stories. And then when he'd had enough of you, he'd tell you to piss off, and you'd go home, and he'd go his way and you'd go yours, and your life would be a different thing, wouldn't it? And I sadly never got to see them live, or him live. I had the opportunity, and they were I should say why they were on a double bill with Motley Crue, and I really don't do Motley Crue. I mean, and I was like, I won't do that. No, I won't do that. And stupidly, he died not soon afterwards. And that's one of those moments in your life where you're like, oh, fuck. Really? What were you doing? Same with Dio. And I said, no, he'll be back. And he didn't. He died soon after. And it's like, yeah. I've learned now in my age that you don't fuck around. You don't hold out and don't say, I might. You just do it, because all the heroes are going, right? And at our age, anyway, you're young. If you're young and you're out there and your young heroes are young, still, you never know what next day comes, does it? So, Lemmy, all I want to say is thanks, man. Thanks for filling our ears with raucous 4-minute unfueled righteous rock and roll, fast, fun, and it had melody, it had its own beauty, you know, and it was just a clash of sounds it was just wonderful. Anyway, that's enough for this side, the sort of brief chat about Lemmy. What else can I say? There are millions of books out there about him. There are millions of things you could talk about. He just means a lot to me. I'm going to come back on the other side, and we're going to talk about a couple of tracks, not albums, just a couple of tracks of his that really resonate with me. Anyway, enjoy the ads. I'm sure there might be something there you might want to buy. And remember, if you like this show, do please go and like and give us a review, because it will be really good for us to get those more and more ears on the show. Anyway, talk to you soon, guys. Bye for now.
When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
I do make everything about me.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
My passport is in the pocket of the duffel bag I took to Mexico.
At Mattress Firm, we know the right mattress matters. We also know that price does too. So if you see a lower price somewhere else, we'll match it. Plus, you get free and fast delivery. Shop in-store or online at mattressfirm.com. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
A new year is a great time to make important changes to grow your business. But if you're stuck in the trenches of daily tasks like managing order fulfillment, you can't focus on what really matters, increasing sales. Luckily, ShipStation makes it easy for you to manage orders from one simple dashboard, while it handles tedious tasks like printing labels, comparing rates, optimizing every shipment, and automating delivery notifications. With ShipStation, your business will be more efficient while keeping costs low with industry-leading shipping discounts. Make this year your most profitable one yet with ShipStation. Go to ShipStation.com to sign up for a free 30-day trial. That's ShipStation.com.
Everybody loves a sequel, especially when it comes to the world's most comfortable shoe. Introducing the Allbirds Wool Runner 2, a next-level revamp of the cult classic. 7 years in the making, it's been completely reimagined for a game-changing fit and feel. With enhanced cushioning and super soft materials, the Wool Runner 2 delivers comfy all-day wear built for bliss. Visit allbirds.com and use code FRESH24 to score a free pair of socks with purchase. That's ALLBIRDS.com, code FRESH24.
Welcome back, guys, to part 2. Thanks for letting me ramble on about Lemmy and this new system I'm using. This new jiggery-pokery computer system does make my brain go else, because I'm trying to talk to you down the microphone and be the whole host of the mostess, right? And then I'm trying to tab between screens and not, I think I'm going to stick to a combination of that and paper notes, because it just makes a bit more sense. I like the idea of the digital one because it's more, I can read it, then my handwriting's terrible, and sometimes I look at my notes and go, what? And that's how I miss things. Like a couple of weeks ago, I got the order of guitarists wrong in Iron Maiden. It was because I just flicked the page over too soon. Right. But anyway, Lemmy. There's not much else I can say about him, really. What I'm going to pick out now in this second part is just a couple of my favourite songs. Not albums. There's lots of information out there about albums. There's lots of stuff like what's the best Motorhead album. I'm not going to go on about that because I have 23 studio albums. Picking your favourite was always going to offend someone. Someone's not going to agree with you. Like I picked way back. I picked a Aussie album, one of my favourite ones, and no one really liked it except one or two. Got some silly comments and like, well, that's choice, isn't it? That's the beauty of music, right? But I'm going to sort of talk about. See, people look at Lemmy and they look at him with this sort of, this tall, aggressive, powerful, mutton chopped, not so attractive, to be honest, dude with a big mole, spitting vitriol at his microphone while he's, destroying his Rickenbacker bass in this 3-piece band. And they look at him, I'm sure they don't think of him as an intellectual. I'm sure they don't look at him as someone that would who've been educated, and he was a very intelligent man who had emotions and was soft and had thoughts. And there's one song in particular that I'm thinking of, and it's from a period in the band. As I said, they went from being with Bronze Records, which is a Dutch label, I believe, it could be a German label, over to their own label because of ongoing disputes. And this album came out, and this particular song is the title track of the song, and I find it lyrically, and I'm going to go through the whole lyric with you, because not only has it got this brilliant driving beat to it, this sort of very memorable toing and froing, almost like the tide or sound. It's this sort of fantastic. If it had it in stereo in one ear, probably going from one ear to the next, we can imagine it moving from left to right on the stage, or right to left, or back and forth, whatever. Very swaying music, very driving, and this is the name of the song. And I'm going to find that. I'm going to give you it. I'm sure for a second you'll know exactly which one it is if you're Motorhead fans. 1986 is Orgasmatron. Now, this is not the classic lineup by any means, okay? This is the... you had Lemmy on bass, Michael Wurzel-Burston on rhythm guitar, Phil Wizzo Campbell on rhythm and lead guitar, and Peter Gill on drums. So, not the original lineup by no means, but it was when they went to GWR Records, their own label, and it was produced... one of the reasons the song sounds the way it does, it was produced by Bill Lawswell and Jason Cariso. Now, they had this sort of hand on the rudder of people like Herbie Hancock and Mick Jagger and Pill. So they were sort of pushing the sound a bit more electronic, a little bit more... synth, even though there's not synths on it, but it has that feel of synth on it, and the entire track, but it's not about the machine that's in Barbarella. It's not about Orgasmatron, in Woody Allen's film The Sleeper. It's not about that. It is not. It got nothing to do with that. Okay, it's to do with. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think it's the idea of it is that it's about this machine, this orgasm making machine, but no, it's not. It's actually about war and hypocrisy. So the title itself is completely sort of, I don't know, it's not really accurate into the lyrical content of the song, but I'm just going to get the lyrics up and I'm going to read them to you, okay? This is me going through my bloody computer again. See, I put notes on and I now don't have it. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is the lyric, okay? Now, bear with me. It says, I am the one, orgasmatron, the outstretched grasping hand. My image is of agony, my servants rape the land. Obsequious and arrogant, clandestine and vain, 2,000 years of misery, of torture in my name. Hypocrisy made paramount, paranoia the law. My name is called religion, sadistic, sacred whore. That alone is on. I genuinely mean this, guys. I feel very passionate about this. That is one of the most beautifully written paragraphs of lyrics by the band ever. All right, there might be big aficionados in the band going, no, but this lyric, Ace of Spades, but yeah, Killed by Death, blah blah, which they're fun, right? They're fun songs and they have a point. But when was the last time in a heavy metal song or a heavy rock song are you going to get the words like obsequious, clandestine, hypocrisy? It's just wonderful. And then you go into the next verse. I twist the truth, I rule the world, my crown is called deceit. I am the emperor of lies, you grovel at my feet. I rob you and I slaughter you, your downfall is my gain. And still you play the sycophant and revel in your pain. And all my promises are lies and all my love is hate. I am the politician and I decide your fate. Oh, just goosebumpy wordplay in this song. Just, you know, what can I say? It's if you close your eyes and listen to this song, and then it's almost Bruegel-esque artwork, isn't it? It's almost Hieronymus Bosch-esque. There's a band at the moment whose art I think of a lot when I listen to this song, and they're called De Profundis, or a UK black death metal band, and it conjures up these images of a world gone to shit, and the devil rising from the pit of hell, and you know, it's almost like, if you watch, it does make me think of the movie The Omen, with Damien. You know, The Omen is like, it has that feeling about that, doesn't it? Those sort of 70s end of the world movies that were around. There was a little known horror movie from the 70s in America called Manitou. It reminds me a bit of that as well. And then we have the next chorus. It says, I march before a martyred world, an army for the fight. I speak of great heroic days of victory and might. I hold a banner drenched in blood. I urge you to be brave. I lead you to your destiny. I lead you to your grave. Your bones will build my palaces. Your eyes will stud my crown. For I am Mars, the god of war, and I will cut you down. Oh, I'm sorry. It's quite cold here at the moment, and I'm shivering anyway. But it genuinely gives me shivers that someone has seen the way that Lemmy is seen in the world of the eyes of the world. I'm sure people don't see him the way that I see him. A lot of people see him as an intelligent, educated, thoughtful human being. But this lyric, you know, whether you like the music or not, whether you think that the music itself is a little bit, because it does have a sort of operatic sense. It doesn't have the speed and tenacity of, say, as I said, Killed by Death or Ace of Spades or any of those, you know, Bomber or any of those stuff that we all know and love of the band. It's hidden away in the middle of their catalogue in an album that didn't do that well. In fact, did very poorly and toured pretty poorly as well. It ends the album as well. It's the closer, not the opener, and it astounds me how this isn't considered one of the greatest metal lyrics of all time. It genuinely astounds me. I mean, we obviously have your Maidens of this world and your Priests and and bands and Queen's Reich and all that, the right incredibly interesting lyrical content, but you expect that from them. I don't think you expect it from speed-driven, high-octane, drug-fueled music like Motorhead. I just don't think you do, right? Anyway, that's just one of the wonderful, wonderful songs that they produce. It's my favourite Motorhead song by a long chalk. Albums-wise, as a difficult one, very difficult one to put down. I'm going to say Ace of Spades purely because, as I said before in the artwork one, they shot the cover in Barnet where I grew up in a sand pit. It's that sort of, like Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast, like Priest's British Steel, like Def Leppard's Hysteria. It's those albums that when you say the band, the album, the band, and it's the one. It might be the biggest selling album, but also it's all killer, no filler. That album, and its production is raw, even though it's not their first album by any way. But it's raw. It still has that rawness that we want from our Motorhead. Motorhead shouldn't be polished. It's one of the reasons I think Orgasmatron didn't do as well as it could do, because it was a little bit clean, a little bit, dare I say, middle of the road kind of Ozzy era. That period in Ozzy's era where it was all ballads and a bit sort of Hollywood, and I think that's sort of what happens slightly with Orgasmatron to some extent. I don't know that not the content lyrically and certainly not musically, just the finish, the sound. I'd love to hear it if it's being reissued and remixed, because it's like anything, it needs a little bit more oomph behind it. It feels like it's lost its front end. The big end's gone a bit. It doesn't have the grunt. The umlaut over the O's has almost disappeared. You know what I mean? But if I'm then sort of thinking of where I go from that, it's a tough one. I wrote all this down how I wanted it to be. My top few albums, and then I thought I can't do it. All I can do is really give you my emotive feel of each album. I mean, definitely my favourite song is Orgasmatron, no doubt, followed by Killed by Death, but and then maybe Motorhead if I'm going to be, actually, in fact, I like the Hawkwind version of Motorhead more than I like the Motorhead version of Motorhead. Isn't that? That's probably a terrible thing to say, and you're probably turning off in your droves as we speak. But, they see the early Motorhead had this Motor City 5, your MC5 sound, this sort of crassness, that they sort of had, and from their early appearances at the Reading Festival, with Saxon, to Overkill with songs like No Class, it's just, I think Overkill is probably my second favourite album, I think, probably of theirs, because song I should say, not album. I apologise. I don't know. I'm finding it very difficult to categorise. Most of the time I can categorise the albums I love of theirs, but to be honest with you, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because you're sort of having to say what out of 23 albums. I'm going to say early lineup. I think everything with the early lineup is probably my favourite period. You know, Motorhead album, sorry, the album Overkill is one of my favourite albums. Motorhead, yeah, rawness, has the punky feel, that 77 punk feel. Overkill, wonderful. Bomber has, of course, everyone loves Bomber. If you can't sing along to Bomber, I don't know. The album that I'm least like, actually, let's do that, of the early period is probably On Parole. I mean, they released 3 albums in 79. I mean, how often can you do that in a band? I mean, they released Overkill, Bomber, On Parole. That's pretty bloody unbelievable, isn't it? Right? It was left unreleased for quite some time. It was recorded. It was recorded in 76, but not released until 79. And it did very, very well, because you're coming off the back of Overkill, you know, and Bomber, really. And Bomber was massive just before the hugeness of Ace of Spades. You know, Overkill, you've got, you know, you've got Overkill, as I said, one of the second favourite tracks. Stay Clean, I Won't Play Your Price, I'll Be Your Sister, Capricorn, No Class, brilliant. Damage Case, Tear You Down, Metropolis, and Limb from Limb. And these are all short, sharp songs, you know, 2 minutes 51, 2 minutes 56, 2 minutes 40. Longest track on the album is Limb for Limb at 4:54. No, I apologise. Oh, sorry, Overkill, 5:12. So not that much difference, right? Again, the original lineup: Eddie Clarke, Phil Taylor, Lemmy, and all wrote together as well. It's just, yeah, brilliant. So very difficult. I mean, do you remember the single to No Class? I've got it, actually. It's a brilliant picture of Lemmy in his leathers and his chest open bare, and this real 70s looking curly haired woman, I'd say in her 20s, with heavy makeup, just staring up lovingly at Lemmy. And the B-side's Like a Nightmare, which is actually a really great track. If you don't know it, it's worth hunting it out. The Plasmatics covered the song in 1982 as part of their Stand By Your Man EP collaboration with Motorhead. Again, Motorhead did lots of collaborations, didn't they? I loved what they did with The Damned. I loved what they did with Girls' School. You know, they were always trying to reach out and not just sit themselves in the one rut. You know what I mean? Like, because, I mean, it's a match made in heaven, isn't it? Motorhead and The Damned is a match made in heaven, if you think about it, because it's punk with extra violence, with extra loudness, with extra craziness, right? And I've always been a huge fan of The Damned, as you all know that. And they've done all sorts of stuff together. Lemmy's played with The Damned live, and they did Neat Live. You know, they did versions of New Rose together. They've done some really interesting stuff. Same with Girls' School. I've got recently just picked up a Girls' School and Motorhead picture disc, 12-inch, and I'll actually put it on I'll get it out and put it on our on the Facebook page. And they were close friends as well, I believe, the band, Motorhead and Girls' School. And it was Please Don't Touch was the song. And that really is actually a lot of fun as well, because it's got that almost T-Rex-y, David Bowie, glam rock kind of feel to it. And if you go on a YouTube, I might see if I can find the YouTube link and put it onto the show description notes, but that's also a lot of fun. Please Don't Touch. And it's really sing along. And a good friend of mine in England, Melvin, he dated the lead guitarist of Girls' School for a little while. She's sadly not with us anymore. And he was all in and around them, and so you would know them as well. And it's quite crazy the connections you have in life, isn't it? It was off the St. Valentine's Day Massacre album. Yeah. Anyway, that's me for the end of it. I've babbled on. I still think go and listen to Orgasmatron, one of the greatest heavy metal songs of its period, lyrically anyway. Maybe not the most sophisticated musically, but then they never were sophisticated music, were they? And they just had violent, loud, fast guitars, smashing, syncopated drums, and Lemmy's raucous vocals and power-driven, shredding bass parts. So give it a go and have a listen and see what you think. See if it changes your mind on the band and what you think of Lemmy as a lyricist and as a musician. I think he's just one of those ones that the world has sadly missed, because he's underappreciated, because he was in a band like Motorhead that isn't the Beatles or the Stones or Deep Purple or something clean and easy to listen to. He was a counterculture. He was rock and roll at its core. And God bless you, Lemmy. Thanks for everything, because I still love your work, and man, the world misses you. It really does. Anyway, me signing off for this week. Bye for now. Hang on, now I've got to learn how to turn this thing off, because I've gone to a different... See, I've said goodbye. There we go. Generally, bye for now.
When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
I do make everything about me.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
My passport is in the pocket of the duffel bag I took to Mexico.
At Mattress Firm, we know the right mattress matters. We also know that price does too. So if you see a lower price somewhere else, we'll match it. Plus, you get free and fast delivery. Shop in-store or online at mattressfirm.com. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Every year, one thing is always predictable. Postage costs go up. Stamps.com gives you crazy discounts of up to 89% off USPS and UPS services, so your business will barely notice the change. Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses just like yours. It's like your own personal post office. No lines, no traffic, no waiting. Sign up with promo code PROGRAM for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. That's Stamps.com, code PROGRAM.